Hi, this is Simon Upstill and welcome to another tutorial for Apple Motion, and today we're going to be taking a look at making this March of the Happy Cubes. So let's get going. Okay, so first up, let's look at our project setup: 1920 1080, 24 frames a second and a duration of 15 seconds. So the first thing I want to do is make a sort of little environment for this. So I'm going to come to generators, I'm going to bring in color solid, and I'm going to make this sky colored. And then I'm going to duplicate that color solid, and I'm going to make this one teal. And just want to move it down so it makes a floor, so negative 540 on Y. Okay, let's call this BG for background. Close that up. Let's make a new group at the top. And into this new group, we're going to put our square. So hold down the Shift key and draw out a square like so. Let's center it up. Let's come to Shape, Geometry, and I want 200 for the size. Then I'm going to come over to Properties, and we need to reset the anchor point, so it's down here on the bottom left corner of the cube. So we can do that by entering negative 100 for the X and negative 100 for the Y. So now if we rotate it, it's rotating about that corner. So the problem with getting this cube to walk is that we would, in theory, have to get that anchor point to move to the next corner with each turn, and that's not really terribly feasible. So I'm going to show you an interesting method for doing this that avoids us having to go into that sort of level of complication. So first of all, I want to come to my first frame, and I want to set a keyframe for the rotation. I'm going to set that to 90. I'm going to come forward to frame 23, set that to 0, come forward to 24, in other words 1 second, and set that back up to 90. So now we've got that single rotation of the cube like that, and you'll notice that it bounces back to its original position at the end. So let's now come to the keyframe editor, and let's just look at these keyframes here. So what we want to do is to come to this little disclosure triangle here, and after last keyframe, repeat. And then if we zoom out, you can see that that's repeating endlessly through those 90 degrees. And what we can then do is adjust its position to make it walk. So I'm going to come to the first frame, keyframe the X position. I'm going to come to 1 second, and I'm going to keyframe that X position to be 200. So then let's solo that X position, which we can do by hitting the Option key as we click on that, and you can see we've soloed that. We want to select this keyframe here, the first one, and we want to right click, and we want to set the interpolation to constant. So now that's just going to click like that, and you can see that our first bit of the walking cycle is working. But obviously every second we need that to move yet another 200 pixels. And we can again do that with the after last keyframe menu here. So after last keyframe, we don't want it to repeat, we want it to be progressive. And so then our walking cycle is complete. It carries on walking indefinitely like that. Very nice. So what I want to do now is to make an army of these. I'm just going to close up the keyframe editor. So to make our army, I first want to grab the group that this is in, and I want to move it on X till my cube is off the edge of the screen like that. So something like negative 990 is probably going to be good. Then I need to make a clone of this group. So right click, make clone layer, and let's turn off the original group. And then from the clone that we've just made, we're going to make a replicator. So object replicate. So what we want to do is we want line for the shape, and we want to zero out the X and Y. And the reason I'm choosing line is it's a good way of accessing the timing of the input clip. And I'm going to set that source frame offset to be 36. And already you can see we've got the beginnings of our little army. We just need to increase the number of points to 11, and then our army marches on indefinitely like that. And we could actually turn this into a GIF quite easily. So let's look at this square here, and let's go forward until we've got a square in the corresponding position. And that's here. So that's 111. So if we go to frame 110, so that's the frame before the repeat, and we come to mark and mark play range out, and then we press play, we've got this endless loop just out of those 1 second and 11 frames. Pretty cool. But what I actually want to do for this is to clear that, and I'm just going to give the replicator some color because I think that's going to be a lot more fun. So I'm going to come to color mode and pick from color range. I'm going to use the gradient menu to select this gradient that I've made. You can select rainbow, which is a slightly less elaborate version of that. So I'm going to select the one I've made because it's really nice and fun. And then we get our marching army in color. Very nice. March of the Happy Cubes. Really simple project, but we've learnt a few interesting tricks along the way. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.